I was watching a video by Nuclear Night about involuntary sexual arousal, and it reminded me of something which I think is a bit trivial, I suppose, but I'll tell you anyway. And it's to do with when I used to be in a theatre company years ago. And it is about 20 years ago now since I used to be in this company, and it was an all-male company. There were 5 of us, and it was kind of physical theatre and a bit like comedy and a bit performance arty kind of stuff. And we did this one show, and I wasn't actually in this performance. There was 4 performers and I was the kind of outside facilitator. And this show had 3 parts, and the centre part, the middle part of it, about 20-minute section in the middle, was performed entirely naked. I would like to say it was all done in the best possible taste, but it wasn't really. And it was, you know, it was quite good and successful, I think, for what it was. And there used to be a lot of hilarity around it, you know, amongst the 5 of us. We were constantly making jokes, so we were very familiar with each other's bodies. We'd done a lot of naked work before, so we weren't squeamish about that kind of thing. And there was lots and lots of jokes around it, and lots of jokes about what would happen if anybody got a stiffy when they're on stage. That was always around. There was a lot of jokes about one particular lad. I won't tell you his name because he's got a different kind of a job now, but he had a particularly hilarious penis. It was very animated because during this particular section, this 20-minute section in the middle, part of it involved the 4 performers lying on these tables like mortuary slabs, completely naked. And every single time we performed it regular as clockwork, about 1.5 minutes after he'd laid down, this one lad, his dick would do this thing where it would kind of unroll and then just kind of flop over to one side. It was really funny. You could set your clock by it, it was hysterical. I guess it was something to do with just a redistribution of blood flow because he was lying horizontally. But that's not really what I'm talking about. Anyway, this show, we were touring this show, and we did it in a place in Gloucester. And we're setting up for it, and one lad was up in the rig putting the lights up, and the ladder that he was standing on slipped from under him and he fell out of the rigging onto the ground. It was only about 12 foot, wasn't he? And he didn't break anything, but he did bang his thigh really badly, give himself a massive bruise and puncture a little hole in it because he landed on something on the ground and couldn't do the show that night. So of course I knew the show really well, so I stepped in and did it, and that was fine. And then about 2 nights later, he still wasn't well enough to do it. He was still limping, could hardly walk. So I had to step in again, but this time it was in Manchester at a venue called the Green Room in Manchester. And the significance of that for me is that that's where my family live. So this was the show that my sister, my brother-in-law, my nephew, my nephew's girlfriend and my mum were all going to come and see, which was kind of nerve-wracking enough as it is, you know, because it's always a bit nervous when your family come to see what you've been up to as an artist or something. But it was doubly nerve-wracking because they're going to see me performing in it, and of course it was triply nerve-wracking because I was going to be naked, and of course my mum hasn't seen me naked since I was, God knows, you know, a baby, I guess. So that was a bit weird, really. And of course for me this whole conversation that we'd been joking around about what if somebody gets a stiffy on stage became very live indeed, you know. And I was very nervous about that. I mean, it didn't happen, of course. If anything, the reverse. You know, you get so nervous that your whole genitalia tries to retreat inside your body. At least that was my experience. So that didn't happen. But that fear of inappropriate arousal, I remember it very well indeed. I've only seen one theatrical performance and that did happen. I saw a really crappy interpretation, modern interpretation of Hamlet, Shakespeare's Hamlet, in which Hamlet, doing the Alas Poor Yorick bit, was doing it naked. I can't remember why he was doing it naked, but it was rubbish. But anyway, he was doing it, and he didn't, sure enough, get an erection halfway through the show. And it was kind of press preview I was at, so there wasn't a huge audience, but there was press, and people standing around taking photos. And he did get a stiffy as he was doing this. And you could see he was embarrassed. I mean, he was doing his best to kind of stand 3/4 on, you know, to the audience, or to position his arm and his elbow in such a way as to cover it. No, it didn't really work. And he managed to limp through to the end of the stage and then limped off stage, kind of bent over like this, you know, get up stage trying to hide his dick between his legs. It was very embarrassing for the poor guy. I felt sorry for him, and very distracting for an audience, I have to say, because of course there's something very real about that kind of arousal, which just breaks the theatrical illusion, isn't it, really? So that was a bit odd. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's got anything to do with what Nuclear Night was talking about. It's just inappropriate, you know. You do feel as if your body's letting you down in those times. Yeah, I've heard people get similar kind of things if they get prostate examinations, and the doctor, you know, when the doctor puts his finger at your butt, he does in that procedure. I've heard that people have been aroused by that and very, well, felt very compromised, felt very let down, felt very betrayed by their body, and unsure about what the significance of that arousal was, which I guess has some relationship to in a completely different register, of course, but has some relationship to what Nuclear Night was talking about when she was saying that women who are the subjects of sexual abuse do occasionally experience arousal or even orgasm. But how do you talk about that? When I talk about these minor experiences of theatre companies doing that thing, and there's kind of fears around that, it's a joke, it's a comedy, but I don't know, there is a dark side to all that, isn't there?